Last year, 2017, was just not a good year for comedies at the movie theater. There just weren't that many of them, and the ones that did come out just weren't all that good or memorable. That's why it's kind of refreshing that this weekend we have two comedies opening up, one of which is really good and the other really bad. I'll let you guess as to which one is which, but let's start by talking about I Feel Pretty. It stars Amy Schumer, and it is written and directed by the team of Abby Cohn and Mark Silverstein. They're the ones that brought us How to Be Single and He's Just Not That Into You. What I really liked about I Feel Pretty is that it just has a message, and I found it to be very inspirational. Amy Schumer's character has very low self-esteem, low confidence. She hits her head and magically kind of transforms in her own mind into a beautiful person on the outside. Now clearly I can relate to the struggle of the external beauty and people always judging you by your looks. You know, I get that. The struggle is real, people. Now there's been a lot of controversy around this movie because like, Amy Schumer is not really, it's not like she's obese or incredibly unattractive. All of those are valid arguments. What I would say, though, is I think that a lot of the things that Amy Schumer is hitting on in this movie are things that are relatable to people, and because of that, I think that this film is going to find an audience. I think people are going to really dig this film. I always say that comedies should be judged on how funny they are at the end of the day. This movie is a different kind of funny that you're used to from Amy Schumer. This is not her stand-up act, her one-note kind of comedy that had, to me, kind of been getting a little tired over the years. This is not Trainwrecked, where there's like all these, crazy gags and stuff like that. This movie has a lot of heart. It's very kind of observant of our culture and what we value, and it really navigates this person through this world. And you can see what kind of doors open up to you when you are just confident in yourself, regardless of what you end up looking like on the outside. This movie I really highly recommend. I personally really dug this movie. I'm going to give it a solid A. That's how much I liked it, everybody.
It turns out the French-Canadian town
Saint-Georges-du-Laurent is actually on American soil. You'll be phasing out a Canadian Mountie unit.
Best behavior, boys.
You guys ride horses, or?
Yeah, this is in 1957. We drive Crown Victorias.
Let's give a big Canadian welcome to the Vermont Highway Patrol.
Come on, guys. They've come up here to tell us how great it's going to be for all of us to become Americans.
Repeat after me. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Learn the words!
With the very good comes the very bad in the form of Super Troopers 2. It is the sequel to the cult classic comedy that came out in 2002 that follows some highway patrol people. This is, now we talk about smart comedy, this is the opposite of smart comedy, what some would call dumb. And that's what I'm calling it. This movie just is kind of, it takes the low-hanging fruit at every turn. Some people might like that. The audience that fell in love with the first Super Troopers, I guess, are a little bit older now. Maybe they still kind of see some nostalgic value to just watching these characters be imbeciles once again. But the laughs are just not really there, and this was really a slog to get through. Poor Brian Cox, who I love, and he just isn't able to do anything in this role, returning as the police captain. This is just a really bad movie. Maybe only meant for people that liked the first one and maybe are just still high enough to go watch the second one. I give this movie a D. Now, if comedy isn't your bag, there is another film opening up this weekend in limited release. It's called You Were Never Really Here. This movie stars Joaquin Phoenix, and it is directed and written by Lynn Ramsey, who did the unbelievable film in 2011 called We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is just a great film. This movie, a good film. Joaquin Phoenix plays a military veteran who has gotten entangled in the world of, he's kind of like an Avenger and a gun for hire who goes out and tries to rescue young women who have been kidnapped. So that storyline right there would tell you that it's kind of this grimy noir action movie, but it is not that in the hands of Lynn Ramsey. This is kind of a trippy, existential abstract kind of a thing, which kind of fits Joaquin Phoenix's wheelhouse. I'm not sure a lot of people are going to like or get this film. I personally thought that it's worth watching, though. I think that it had a lot of cool elements to it, and it kind of brings you into the head of this this guy who just is in a terrible, terrible space, and it makes you kind of exist there uncomfortably for an hour and a half. I like the movie. I'm going to give it a B. There's a few other smaller films opening this weekend we're not going to cover here, but let's talk about everything. I'm really interested in seeing what you guys think about I Feel Pretty. Okay, Super Troopers 2 also, if you want to talk about that. But hit me up on Twitter, @Tom Santilli, and let's start a discussion. Let's talk about I Feel Pretty. What did you think? We'll see you next time.